Hey there, Aurora traders and investors. It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the absolute best MJ community. Today is Thursday, it's June 20th. Hope you're doing awesome. And in this video, we're going to be reviewing Aurora's Q4 and full fiscal year 2024 earnings. They did miss in terms of their quarterly estimates. They had a pretty big miss on EPS as well. And there was also a daily bear flag that is saying another leg down was the most likely scenario, and a bearish continuation pattern on the chart and the technical. So we'll take a look at that, what to expect in terms of the price action in the days, weeks, months ahead. But as always, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only, and you should never buy or sell anything based on anything that I say or write. I do have a very small Aurora position. It's more of a YOLO position, but I do think that they could turn it around long term. They're starting to focus on medical. But let me know in the comment section below if you believe in their vision and if you hold it. I assume if you're listening to this video right now, you're probably a shareholder, but I wanted to be fully transparent. It is about 1% to almost 2% of my portfolio. If you haven't seen my 2024 portfolio update with percentages, I give my entire portfolio with the weighting of each. Before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. Also, you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. It's the best way for me to get real-time updates out to the community. And I did post the Aurora earnings earlier today. And just in case you ever get censored here on YouTube, it's a good way to make sure that we have constant communication. So Aurora MJ files full year results and announces fiscal 2024 fourth quarter results. We'll take a look at the EPS estimates. So they were forecasting 69. The date is all messed up here. They say May 29th, but I've been noticing that investing.com has been pretty hit or miss lately with dates. But they were forecasting 69.82 million in terms of revenue, and EPS was negative 0.0028. If we take a look at Moomoo, they were forecasting revenue of 69.542 million, so very similar. And then EPS, or earnings per share, was negative 0.08. And then one thing I noticed about TradingView was they were forecasting negative 0.18, which was a lot closer to what the actual was, which we'll look at here in just a moment. But they were forecasting 69.542 million for revenue as well. So very similar, but it came in at 67. So we'll bring up the article here. So Q4 represents the sixth consecutive quarter of positive adjusted EBITDA, increased total quarterly net revenue of 5% year over year to 67.4. So they did have a slight miss there by a couple million in terms of revenue estimates. Global medical MJ net revenue grew 20% year over year to 45.6 million, and their consumer MJ did drop. So again, you're starting to see the differentiation here of Aurora compared to other licensed producers in Canada and producers around the world, is they're starting to focus more on that medical channel, which I don't think is a bad strategy, because we're starting to see companies really start to focus on key aspects of the industry and try not to be everything to everyone, right? Which I think is great. They ended the fiscal year with a cash position of 180 million, with MJ business debt free. They reaffirmed their target of reaching positive free cash flow by December 31st, 2024. So that is great to see. And I'm not going to go through this mostly. I assume everybody has probably already read through this, so I'm not going to bore you with that, but we'll just go through some of the critical highlights. Yeah, so Aurora's consumer MJ net revenue was 10.2 million compared to 14.5 million in the prior year quarter. The decrease was due to our decision to prioritize the supply of our GMP good manufacturing practices, manufactured products, to our high margin international businesses rather than consumer business, which offers low margins, right? And we know that that wholesale and international, it doesn't have the same amount of taxes. So that's probably why. So go through the adjusted gross margin before fair value adjustments of consumer MJ was 16%, decreasing from 25%. So that's a big drop there. We'll go through a little bit quicker. Net loss for the quarter for the 3 months ended. You okay, Monty? My dog wasn't sounding too good. He looks okay. March 31st, 2024 was 20.8 million compared to a net loss of 76.2 million for the prior year period. So that is definitely good to see, but still came in at negative, still came in with a loss of 20.8 million, so in the negative. And then we'll factor that into the EPS. So what you do is you take the amount of common shares and you divide it by you take the loss and you divide it by the shares. So if I just bring up my notes here, I was talking to the Pow Group private community about this. They currently have 54,545,797 shares outstanding as of March 31st, 2024. So you take the loss and 20.8 million divided by that amount of shares, and you get EPS of negative 0.38. And the estimate was somewhere around that negative 0.08. So very big miss in terms of EPS. There was also a daily bear flag. So the fact that they missed on revenue, big miss on EPS, but I'm not sure where TradingView got negative 0.13. I noticed that usually their numbers are skewed. The revenue is correct, but their EPS does not look correct. And usually when the earnings first come out, it's usually incorrect, and then they correct it later on. So we'll see if they get on that. But yeah, big miss in terms of EPS, slight miss in revenue, and the fact that there's a daily bear flag makes sense that the stock was down about 10% today. So ACB, you can see here, we had our high, low, lower high. There was tons of bear flags across the sector. MSOS, there was bear flags on pretty much all major tier ones. And then you just take your measured move. You go from the high to the low. You can see I just copied that trend line. And then you move it out to your 0.32 fib. And it says we're targeting about 510. And here we are at 526. So once we lost this support here at 606, that confirmed the flag. Here's the pole. Here's the flag. Here's the measured move of the reverse pole. So it said high, low, lower high, weak bounce. Didn't get above the 0.32 fib there at 685. So anything under that was just a potential for a bear flag. And then once we lost the low here, the support, critical support at 606, that confirmed it. And from there, we have now dropped another 12.8%, but total we should expect 15%. So from current levels, we could drop another 3.5% essentially. But we're getting very close to that, and daily oversold, which usually marks bottom after a big bull move, which came from the DEA agreeing to start that process to reschedule MJ, right? And agreeing with HHS. And there was tons of names as well, like I said, with daily bear flags across the sector and heading to daily oversold. Again, MSOS was another daily bear flag as well, but it could be an inverse head and shoulders forming here. So we'll see if we can get a nice reversal here to the upside, that bullish reversal pattern. But I'll see if there's anything else that I wanted to mention. Oh, in terms of technicals, we did have a warning sign. We lost the 10-week moving average. We had a stochastic bear cross, then the MACD. So we had a very early heads up that we were more than likely going to see that happen. Plus tons of names in the MJ sector had still yet to confirm monthly uptrends. And if we zoom out to the monthly time frame for ACB, it was very similar to CGC. We had the low, high, we needed the higher low and higher high. So now we're getting the higher low, and we're starting to join names like SNDL, High Tide, Cron, VFF. They're all in monthly uptrends. MSOS confirmed a monthly uptrend for the first time in history, but since lost it a little bit. Could be a bit of a bear trap, though, in my opinion, a bit of a shakeout before the next big breakout. But if you look at ACB, we're still in a monthly downtrend. It's lower highs and lower lows. So this is just a lower high here at 935 compared to 1150. So now we need the higher low and the higher high. So we're forming the higher low now. We just need to top out. Usually when we confirm a weekly uptrend, that marks our monthly consolidation low, and then we'll expect a bounce, and then it'll be all about 935 from there. If we can see that break from here and hold support there at 284, form the higher low, higher high, monthly uptrend confirmed. And we're probably heading to monthly MA26, which would bring us up to around $24. So GTBIF, it actually got above its monthly EMA26. So we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, these stocks tend to follow each other in the grand scheme of things, not down to the day, the second, the minute. But if you zoom out to the yearly chart, they look very similar, right? And then also one thing I wanted to mention is a lot of names started to top out at their 100 weekly moving average. If you take a look at some of the other names in the space, CGC, same thing. TLRY, same thing. SNDL, got above it, but a bit stronger. High Tide, same thing. What's a name that isn't as strong? Cron. Yeah, so the story, the moral, the consensus was that most people, what I'm trying to get across here is most stocks, especially the weaker ones, we're seeing rejections. OGI, same thing, right at the 100. So a lot of these names that haven't confirmed monthly uptrends yet, rejected at their 100 weekly moving average. Names that did confirm monthly uptrends came very close to their 200 weekly moving average. So again, ACB hit its 100 weekly, big upper wick, and then more than likely monthly consolidation was going to come as we were still in a monthly downtrend, needed to confirm the monthly uptrend to confirm that and join the rest of the pack. And then once we rejected at the 100, we had the 50 there that usually we backtest, and that was sitting at 520. So we're right on it right now, perfect back test at the moment. And then on the daily time frame, we had a golden cross with the 50 and the 200-day moving average crossing, but again, still didn't confirm that monthly uptrend, which we needed to do, in my opinion. And now we're back testing that 200-day moving average, which is sitting at 524. So a lot of support in that 524 after 510, that daily bear flag on ACB. We'll be looking at 5 psychological. And then after that, we'll zoom out here, see if we have a weekly level. Now, there's really nothing until 284. On the daily time frame, we'll see if we can get a level here. Yeah, there is a small level, around $4. So there's really no support after 510. We're looking at 5 psychological after that. Could get pretty ugly. Not set up well as well if the S&P 500 were to see any meaningful downside. But I did bring up their interim or their full fiscal year results. I think they had a net loss for the year of around $70 million. See if there's anything else. I think I mentioned pretty much everything that I wanted to say. The amount of shares. Oh, there was one thing here on high tide as well. So there was, during the year ended March 31st, 2024, the company entered into a settlement agreement with High Tide to reduce the convertible debenture outstanding. The settlement included 2,491,496 High Tide common shares, with an equivalent of a value of $5 million in High Tide common shares held in trust. The company sold 996,538 common shares for $2.2 million in net proceeds during the year. The High Tide common shares are classified as marketable securities, initially measured at fair value, with subsequent measurements of fair value recorded through profit loss. Initially, due to the trading restrictions and future release dates of the common shares received, the shares were designated as level 2 on the fair value hierarchy and measured using a Monte Carlo simulation model. As of March 31st, 2024, with the trading restrictions satisfied, the fair value is determined based on the observable inputs, namely the share price, and it's classified as level 1 on the fair value hierarchy. So that was something I didn't know with regards to that High Tide settlement. Just see if there's anything else. But yeah, again, they had a pretty big drop off on consumer MJ, but big increase in medical. So that is definitely their focus if you didn't already know that already. But if we just scroll down here, I did want to see their full year report here. Yeah, so net loss for the full year was $69.3 million. But if you compare that to the prior year, I guess that's the 9-month, $205 million. Yeah. And then for total operations for the year was negative 1.52. But look at the previous negative 6.13. So they are seeing some improvement, but still a long way to go. We'll see. Like they said in the beginning there, they'll see if they can reach their target of positive free cash flow by the end of the year. But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below of this earnings. Was it something that caught you off guard? Or, are you still holding? Are you bullish on it long term? Personally, like I said, it's a small YOLO position for me. I'm not going to really put too much thought behind it. It's kind of a set and forget for me, and we'll see whether or not they make it out long term. But it's definitely not a company that I'm investing a lot of capital into and really expecting a whole lot out of in the grand scheme of things. I know a lot of people got burned with this company as well. So for me, it was just sitting on the sidelines, and I never really understood Aurora at the beginning. And again, it just wasn't one of those names. We had that Coca-Cola FUD as well. So a lot of people get sucked into that. But, at the end of the day, it makes sense to have a well-balanced and diversified portfolio. And I think, it makes sense to have at least some exposure to Aurora. And I was able to get it pretty low, which I am up on my investment. So, at the end of the day, to have that diversification and that exposure into medical, I think, focusing on that niche market could benefit them in the long run. So we'll see what happens, but curious to hear your thoughts and opinions. We'll continue the conversation in the comments. Thanks again for joining us in the Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rod with Power Group, and we shall see you on the next video.